you are so smart and so clever because you just got a Sal Minella figure from the Durkin Workshop. I'm going to give you some tips and advice on how to paint him, but of course you can paint him however you want. This is the final painted version of him, so this is kind of the look you're going for here. And this is the way he's going to arrive at your doorstep. He's going to be in 8 pieces. So he's got a head, torso, a right arm, a left arm, a right hand, a left hand, and a right foot and a left foot. And the reason why I did him in pieces is because, first of all, I wanted to add articulation to him. And that's just the way the joints come together. But also to make it easier to paint. Because I figured it'd be really hard to get underneath that chin and get that that tie taken care of, and some other things on him if he was joined together into one figure. Now, the good news is I have printed him in multiple colored filaments. So there's a few of these, so that's less painting for you, first of all. And there's a few of these that you won't have to paint. So you can get rid of this one, the right hand, and the feet. So all you have to paint are these. Now I'm going to show you some of the materials that I'm using. This is, first of all, this is called, let's see, crushed stone. I think I picked that up at Michael's maybe. But what you're basically looking for, if you want to mix it up in your palette or whatever, is just kind of a warm medium gray. So not like a bluish gray or a purplish gray, but more like a brownish, maybe a bit yellowish gray. And then over here with these paint pens, I use this Durkin brand, where you need red for the tongue. And hang on to that red as well, because you're going to need it for the tie, because you're going to do yellow, red, and blue for the tie. You're going to need a gold one. That's just for his ring around his finger. That color back there, that's called sandy brown. That's in the Durkin 60 color set. It comes in like a big zip up bag. And then like a medium gray for his eyelids. That color back there, that sandy brown, is basically kind of almost a salmon color. So you can get away with something like that. Now, there's a sequence to doing this that makes things a bit faster if you go in a particular order. So that's the order that I'm going to go in when I do this. But once again, you can do it however you want. One final note is, once you have this all painted and it's ready to go, and you snap them together, do be very, very careful with the shoulders, wrists, and ankles. At least at first. The joints should loosen up a bit over time, but at first, do not force them, and especially the hands, do not turn them by the fingers. Just turn them by the entire hand so we don't snap off any fingers. It will loosen up. Now the head is on there actually very, very loose. That's about as tight as I could get it for some reason. So if the head falls off, just stick it back on again. It's not a huge deal. All right, let's get on to painting. So like I mentioned, if you go in a certain sequence, you'll be able to get him painted in no time. And like I said, you don't have to go in this sequence, but this is the way I'm going to do it. And that way, we're painting one thing, and as we go back and paint another thing, the first thing is drying, and then we can go back and paint and get it all done. So the first thing I'm going to do is paint this tie yellow. Now, it's already gold, same color as the vest. You can leave it that way if you want. But for accuracy, I'm just gonna paint right over the top of that with this yellow. Just make sure that you get the top part here, because that will show, even though his head is on there, his chin will cover some of that, you'll still see it, especially when you turn his head. when you're posing him. So make sure you get that top area. So go ahead and give that a couple coats. The difference is subtle, but it is there. And like I said, you can skip that step if you want to. So we're gonna put that off to the side and let that dry, because we're not done with that tie and we're not done with that torso yet. But in the meantime, we're gonna work on this head. And by the time we're done working on this head, that tie will be dry and we can go back to the tie. So take your red and we're gonna do the tongue inside the mouth. Do your best to get in there. Try not to get on the lip, on that bottom lip, and try not to get above you on the inside of his mouth on the top there. Just get real, as close as you can inside of that mouth and get that tongue all painted up red. Now, when you're painting all the time, make sure that you have some water and a little paintbrush or a rag or a paper towel or a Q-tip or something, just to clean up your mess. It's so much easier to do it while the paint is still wet. Once it's dried, it's a completely different issue, but have it on the ready. If you happen to get paint where you don't want it, you can always jump in there while it's still wet and salvage it. It's not a matter of if you will make a mistake, it's a matter of when you make a mistake, because it just, no matter how hard you try and how steady your hand is and how nice your materials are, there's a possibility that you're gonna make a mistake. So have that stuff on the ready. So hang on to this red because you're gonna need it for the tie. Now, this next color is, I believe I said in the thing that it was in the beginning that it's called sandy brown. It's kind of a brownish salmon color. This is for the nose. So his nose, I tried to make, when I, like I said, I try to make lines on here when I'm sculpting it that make it easy to see the edges of, so it's easier to paint. So you should see where that nose ends. And it comes down into the nostril and down to the tip of the nose. And go ahead and stick the paint into the nostril. Do the same on the other side. And that's it. There he is, sweet guy. Now, the next thing we're gonna do is grab this. This is just like a medium gray, and that's going to be on his eyelids. So we're going to take our marker and very carefully, and you can do this with paint and a pen and a brush, but we're just going to carefully do the upper and lower lids. Give him a nice little makeover there. And be sure to turn his head around so you can get all those angles. The lids are kind of football shape, kind of half football shape. And those are the easy ones. The ones underneath are even harder. Just take it nice and slow. Breathe. See, I got a little bit of gray on the actual eye itself. You just go back in there with the dark gray or black and just touch that up. Okay, so we're all done with this head for now. We're gonna go back to it later on when we're doing the fur and everything. So we're just gonna stick him off to the side and come back to the torso. Now this yellow should be finished, dried I mean. And what I'm gonna do is, I just did kind of a simplified version of the pattern on his tie. And quite honestly, you can do whatever you want for the pattern on the tie, but this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take my blue and I'm going to do like ovals. Small ovals like this, and we're just going to kind of randomize them on there. Have some of them go off of the tie, have some of them right in the middle of the tie, and be sure to get the top of the tie too. So I'm just doing like blue ovals, like kind of like little pieces of rice or something, think. Almost done. And these are just random, they can go anywhere. And then you're going to go back in, and in those areas between those big dots you did, you're just going to do little dots. Just little dots like this. Now, what's going to happen is we're going to let that dry, and we'll put our final color on there. Remember that red I told you to hang on to? That's going to go in the middle of those bigger dots that you put on there. And that's enough to make it just look like some sort of a pattern that makes sense. So we're just going to put that off to the side. And while we're waiting for both of those to dry, you can grab your gold marker or gold paint and just do that ring that's on his left hand. Really, really tricky to not get it on the other fingers. But if you go nice and slow and be nice and careful, you can do it. If not, make sure you have your water and your Q-tip and your towel or rag or whatever you have, and just clean her up. Get the outside of the hand by the knuckles, get the inside by the palm of the hand, and try to get in between the fingers and just get that ring. I don't know if that means he's in the mob, or if he's married, or if he's just trying to appear to be married. I don't know what his deal is. You'll have to ask Brian Henson. Okay, so usually I'll tell you with these characters to do the big stuff first, to do the fur first, and then go in and do the little details. I'm just doing this in reverse order because we have so many separate parts that they can be drying while we're working on other things. So now we're going to do this fur. And boy, I really thought that his fur was brown. It is not brown. It's actually a gray color. I'll put up the picture of the PMS colors for when they do him in print. But he's actually a gray color. So what I did was I found a kind of a dark gray filament, and that's going to be his base color. And then we're going to go in with this, it's called crushed stone. But you can get any kind of, you can put together any kind of, you can even mix this. It's just kind of a not a cool gray, kind of a warmish gray, kind of almost like a brownish gray. And get your little towel or rag ready, and grab your brush. And what we're going to do is we're just going to dry brush on there on all of those furry areas. We'll start with the arms. That way you can kind of see what I'm getting at here. Gonna have hardly any. We're gonna put paint on the brush, and then we're gonna take it off of the brush. So there's hardly any on there. And we're just dusting on the top. Just giving it a little dusting, giving that fur some depth and a little bit of difference. And also kind of softens him a little bit. Doesn't make it look like just a chunk of plastic. It kind of elevates the look a little bit. It's subtle, but it does make a difference. So we're gonna go on all of these fur pieces, the two arms, the torso, and the head. We're gonna go in and do that. If you get too much on there, if it looks a little too much, you just go in with your towel here, your rag, whatever you got, and just pull it off a little bit. But the look you're looking for is kind of a two-tone sort of a thing. So you can see a little bit of the gray and a little bit of the other color. Just like that. And you're just gonna do that on all of the pieces. So all of the hairy parts, furry parts have been painted. We're gonna go back and do one more thing. We're gonna grab our red. You can use a marker or you can use paint. And those bigger ovals that you made, actually I'm just gonna go over to my other side of the paintbrush here. You're just gonna do a dot right in the middle. Dot, dot, dot. Just on the big ones. The little blue dots you can leave. Just the big dots. Dot, dot, dot. And that's it. So all of this stuff is pretty much dry. We can go ahead and put him together. So now we assemble, and it should be pretty obvious how this all goes together. This, of course, is his left arm. His left hand would go in there, and like I said, when you first start out, be very, very careful. Just kind of twist it back and forth. Don't touch the fingers too much as you're getting this in there. These will loosen up over time if you tend to pose him back and forth a lot. But for right now, they're very, very tight. So please, please be careful. Let's get those hands in there. Just really, really easy. Take your time on this. Just kind of rotating it back and forth, slowly pushing it in there. Feet, same thing. It's really, really tight, so do be very, 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 very careful. Just kind of twisting back and forth and pushing at the same time, applying gentle pressure. There we go. Left arm. Oh man, we've almost got ourselves a monkey here. And then the head, like I said, this head is very, very loose. Should pop on, no problem. And there we have it. We've got ourselves a Sal. Congratulations, everyone. One final thing on Sal, make sure you spray him down with some matte sealer. Do not use gloss, use matte. That will seal in all those colors. It will soften it a little bit so it's not quite as shiny, and he will look great.